France does a deal with Gulf Arabs to sell them civilian nuclear technology. It also gets a step closer to a permanent military base in the region. Is Nicolas Sarkozy showing Iran how best to handle its nuclear ambitions? Or is France taking advantage of the tension? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm David Foster. Nuclear cooperation in return for billions of dollars. That's what France is offering Arab states in the Gulf. In the United Arab Emirates, President Sarkozy signed an outline agreement on help to provide peaceful nuclear energy. He's made similar overtures to Qatar and Saudi Arabia on this same regional tour. On the strategic front, France and Abu Dhabi have also sealed a deal for a French military base in the Emirates just across the Gulf from Iran. And on the nuclear issue, Monsieur Sarkozy says he doesn't see why any Middle Eastern power, including Iran, shouldn't produce atomic energy.
In 40 years from now, there will be no oil left, and in 100 years, no more gas. Nuclear power will replace those energy sources. It is the energy of the future. So in the name of what Arab countries should be banned from using this energy? And what is the real leitmotif of terrorism, if not misery and underdevelopment? Our goal is to help Arab countries develop themselves and prepare the economy of the 21st century. That's why we say there is no reason to prevent Arab countries from using nuclear energy for civilian and peaceful purposes. And it would be given credit to the current Iranian regime if civilian nuclear energy is only used by Western democracies. France tells Iran, give up your race for a nuclear weapon. It is a risk and you don't really need it. And if you stop the race for a nuclear weapon, you would have access to civilian nuclear power.
Joining us to discuss the French president's tour of the Gulf are our guests from Dubai, Riyad Khawaji, military analyst and director of the Institute for Near East and Gulf Military Analysis. In Paris, Patrice de Beer, a senior political analyst and former editor of Le Monde. And in London, Mark Fitzpatrick, Senior Fellow for Non-Proliferation at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Let's go to Paris, first of all. It's about a French president, this programme. It's not just about business deals, Monsieur de Beer, is it? What is it about?
Well, of course, it's mostly about business deals, about rebalancing the oil bill with exports of technologies. But one must never forget that France has had a Middle East policy for almost 5 centuries, and that all French presidents have traveled to the Gulf states and to the Arabian Peninsula. But it is true that President Sarkozy wants to sell as much as he can. The French economic situation is not very good. Unemployment is high. And France being a leader in nuclear technology, and France having signed already agreements with Arab countries like Libya, Morocco, and being in discussions with Egypt, it was more than normal that France would offer to sell civilian nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia or to the Gulf states.
But what is the motive if it's not just the bottom line, if it's not just about finances? Why does France want to have some kind of serious presence in the Gulf region?
Well, for strategic reasons, France hasn't had a military base in the area since the independence of Syria and Lebanon right after World War II. France has a small base in Dushanbe for jet fighters fighting in Afghanistan. France has a major military base in Djibouti, and they want to have a base that would be key for military cooperation with the Gulf state, which has been going on for almost 30 years.
OK, let's go to Mark Fitzpatrick from the International Institute for Strategic Studies in London. One of your colleagues, Francois Eisberg, wrote that, and this is a quote, "The key to France's strategy is the Iranian affair." What did he mean?
Well, I think you'll have to ask him directly, but France recognizes that Iran presents the greatest threat to the global non-proliferation regime and to the region. France threatens the stability of the region by its promotion of its revolutionary fervor and by its promotion of a technology, its pursuit of a technology that can be put to nuclear weapons purposes. This is something that frightens its neighbors, and it's one of the reasons why President Sarkozy is strengthening France's nuclear energy and defense relationships with them.
And do you still stand by what your Director General John Chipman said, which is that there's a consensus emerging that an Iranian nuclear capacity is almost inevitable and certainly bad?
Yes, Iran is on a path that shows no intention of compromising at all. It has almost reached the point where it can produce uranium enrichment, and it is something that is worrisome to the rest of the region and to the world.
Let's go to Riyad Khawaji in Dubai now and take us back to the end of 2006 when 6 Arab monarchies in the Gulf region got together and decided to go ahead with some kind of joint nuclear program. Was it simply because they saw that oil and gas would eventually run out, that they'd need an alternative source of energy, or was there another reason?
Well, it is also to, I mean, the main thing is to send a signal to everywhere that the there are alternative means to get the nuclear energy, and it is not the Iranian way is not the best way, and it's best to go out and with the best of intentions and buy this technology from the powers outside. Also, the issue by itself, building nuclear technology in the region here was more or less a taboo, and largely because of the Israeli-Arab situation. Now, with the Iranian program in progress, this somehow broke the taboo and gave an opportunity to many Arab countries to either revive or to start programs for nuclear technology. And this was an approach here, and we see now actually a competition. I mean, President Sarkozy is not the first one to offer nuclear technology. Putin was here a few months ago, and they also offered nuclear technology.
Well, let's take it a stage further. In the Saudi Arab news just before President Bush went to Saudi Arabia, it was written that any kind of deal, and was particularly important at a time when the Middle East is experiencing dangerous crises which risk setting the entire region alight. He was also alluding, I think, the writer there, to the deal that President Sarkozy has shored up. Now, how is any kind of peaceful nuclear program going to worry Iran?
Necessarily it's not going to worry Iran. I mean, it's going to be in a sense that Iran would not be the one claiming to have a nuclear power. Arab countries are going to come out and say, we also have a new technology, nuclear power. So the issue of prestige here will not be solely to the Iranians. It will also be shared and enjoyed by the Arabs, and would even claim that they have a better, more advanced technology than the one being, built from primitive stages by the Iranians.
And I can see Mark Fitzpatrick nodding his head at this. The discussion's going the way that I rather hoped it would, because if it's not just about getting a peaceful nuclear program, it has to be about the threat that these countries could, if they wanted, at some point in the future, take it that extra stage further that would act as a deterrent to Iran. That's the point being put forward by some people. What do you think of that?
Well, there's a validity to that. I was nodding my head because, of course, the French technology, American technology being offered to the Gulf states is so far superior to what Iran has from the Russians that the Gulf states are going to win that competition. They are seeking nuclear energy in part for prestige, but also as a security hedge in the event that in the future they feel a need to compete with Iran's nuclear weapons capability. One way to start is by beginning to acquire nuclear energy infrastructure. Now, if it just stops with nuclear energy, with nuclear power, there's no danger there, as long as states also don't acquire the sensitive fuel cycle technologies of uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing that can be put to weapons use.
Okay, let's go to Patrice de Beer in Paris. If we take it to that not necessarily logical stage, but that there's a possibility if you have a nuclear program, it could eventually be developed into something far more threatening. What kind of safeguards can France offer the rest of the world that it would be able to contain any nuclear program in the Gulf?
So far, we don't have much details about that, and President Sarkozy hasn't, as far as I know, given many details on this issue. The story is that safeguards can be built in, but history has shown that it was not always as easy. But let's say the main insurance policy might be, as it has been discussed before, that it would put Iran in a very awkward position by showing them that you could have nuclear technology, civilian nuclear technology, without the need of any political or military pressure or blackmail.
Fascinating subject. I'd like to explore that avenue a little bit more in just a moment, but right now we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a closer look at the French plans to set up a permanent military base in the Gulf, as well as those nuclear ambitions for the Gulf countries. Do stay with us on Inside Story if you can.